Morning guys, afternoon. We are here today with lovely Rosie Marsh,
Hi.
who is Head of Sales for Miroma. Got it
That's
in one.
it, you got
Miroma
it.
Leisure Group, who look after a few venues here in London. We're in one of them today, Trapeze. We were going to be in another one, but we aren't, which is Nordic and also Bar Rumba. So Rosie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Just want to explain a little bit about your role and what you do and how we got here.
Sure. So I'm Head of Sales for Miroma Leisure. So we have the 3 bars, we're an independent bar group, and mixed with that late night as well. But we call ourselves more sort of a bar group than anything else. Sure. So it's my job to look after the sales teams, make sure they're delivering, but also bring in sort of bigger corporate bookings, keep that going, do sales strategy, and just ensure that across all 3 sites, we are driving the pre-booked as much as we possibly can.
What are pre-booked?
So pre-booked for us can be anything from what we call your core, which is your week-to-week booking. So that can be anything from a table of 2 to a birthday, whatever. But also your corporate bookings are your sort of, big venue hires or room hires and things like that. And then obviously Christmas, which I've been living in a winter wonderland since May. Driving Christmas across all 3 sites as well. Yeah. But the core business, those small bookings are a really big part of our business. So a huge part of our business.
Okay, cool.
How long you've been here with the company?
So I've been with Miroma just since February, actually. So not super long. Yeah. So it's been a really amazing kind of time to join. And it's been a fantastic opportunity because I think that the great thing about it being independent is that it's allowed me to have more creativity and more license with what we're doing rather than be a paint by numbers role, Was
you working in corporates before then?
So before that, I was a hospitality consultant.
Okay.
So again, going into various venues and stuff and helping them drive their business and their pre-booked and also implementing things in sales teams. And before that, I set up my own company. So just, casually doing children's parties, which is not as different as you might think. It's kind of sales is sales,
Sure.
So it's the same sort of stuff. And I use a lot of the same techniques and processes. And then before that, I was with Novus Leisure for quite a long time as the sales.
How long was you with Novus for?
About 5 years, I think.
Wow.
For 5 years, something like that. Yeah. So I was a sales and events manager for them. So the industry is dotted with us. You'll see little Novus Leisure people pop up everywhere in hospitality. So yeah.
So you say there's 3 venues and every venue has their own sales team?
Yes, every venue has their own sales team. So we've just got a new sales manager into Nordic called Abby, who's fabulous. We've got Georgina here, who's a sales manager. Because this is the biggest venue as well. Yep. So she's got a couple of sales team in here driving this. And then at Rumba, we have a couple of sales team members in there. So it's a very different business, Rumba, because Rumba is very much late night. Yeah. So it's all about guest lists really there, rather than sort of your big bookings.
And what does a sales manager do day to day? Like how are you, and you yourself really, how are you driving sales? How are you driving those pre-booked customers basically?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because it's sort of one of those things where it's always evolving and changing how you drive it in. Because what worked last week might not work this week. But what the sales manager does day to day, they obviously deal with all the incoming staff. So any of the sort of inquiries coming through in the morning from the night before, dealing with any feedback, putting a strategy in place for their team members. So that might be going out, what we call street fighting, which is not as exciting as it sounds. I was like, no, it's not. But it's kind of local outreach, which is a really big part of it. So sending their guys out to do that, or maybe just calling past bookers or doing research about corporate bookers in the local area, so big companies that might want to use the space.
Yeah. Do you do much with re-engaging with people that have booked in the past?
Yeah, it's a really big part of what we do. We call our past bookers and get them back in with different offers and things. I think it's also really important because it's a way for the venues as a whole to improve their offering.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get that feedback from people, you don't necessarily know what you're doing right and what you're not doing right. So it's a way for us to then be able to feed that back to the operations team.
What's the kind of process you have for feedback? Is it just more general sort of outreach? Is it how do we do? Or is it a survey based? Or is it more of a personal call?
We do lots of feedback actually. So we have kind of feedback that we do on the night. We have like feedback forms. Okay. We have surveys that we send out, but we also always call people kind of on the Monday to see how, it's really, we do a lot of it.
On a Monday though, usually their venues, from my experience, they're kind of dealing with all the issues they had themselves. I suppose.
I think the thing is because it's a sales team, rather, we're not dealing with any of the operational stuff.
Okay,
so we...
I suppose you speak to, sorry to interrupt, you speak to different people, I suppose, than I would in my particular role. You would speak to the kind of sales, the other salespeople or the other people that aren't operations.
Yes.
Okay, so you do all the kind of background stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
We're the ones in the background.
Sure.
So we're the ones sort of working away to fill the venues and then we kind of, hand it over. And that's what you guys do. We leave it to it.
Cool.
So you do sometimes get people when you call them on a Monday and they're like, I'm literally, still recovering. So why are you calling me? But I think it's really important. And I think it's really important to re-engage with people and have that personal touch. And I think that that's a huge part of what I'm trying to drive into the sales teams, because it's all about sales as relationships. That's all it is. So it's my job to make sure that we are maintaining those personal relationships with all of our customers. And I always say to everybody, why is like the little old man pub down the road full? It's not full because it's the best pub in the area. It's full because the barmaid remembers your name. And that's all it is. It's as simple as that. But if you have to be creating those personal relationships.
Is it harder to do that type of thing in London, where you've got so many tourists and maybe people that are going to come once and that's it? Or do you have a lot of regulars?
It's really, Because
I'm thinking Rumba is a good example. I'm assuming is probably full of tourists.
Do you know what? It varies so much from area to area.
Yeah.
So Rumba, you're absolutely right. It's really hard to re-engage with people because it is just a lot of turnover. So there, our strategy focuses quite a lot more on our online presence, photography and all that sort of stuff, Instagram, Facebook. That's how we can kind of engage with people. A lot of local area outreach there, so all the big sort of retailers and stuff. But it's difficult to kind of call people and be like, hey, come back in. And they're like, I live in France now. You're like, no. Fitzrovia, where Nordic is very different again. It feels a lot more local. It's got that kind of locals mentality. So once you get people who come in, they'll come in again and again and again. And there's a lot of businesses around there, sort of smaller digital marketing agencies, creative agencies. So it's a very different feel. Shoreditch is a really interesting one. I think it's a really mixed bag. We have some people that come back. It also varies here day to day. So Saturdays here are what you would call destination days. So it's people who are from out of town, hen parties, stag parties, birthdays. It's really hard to re-engage those people because obviously, they're just coming in for a birthday or whatever. But your Monday to Friday stuff here, you really can work on re-engaging people and getting them back in.
What tends to kind of happen here then during the week? Is it more, it's not club night focused, is it?
It's
more
not,
activity-based?
No, we are going much more activity-based in this venue. I know it's something everyone in the industry is saying, but it's absolutely true that people are looking for something to do now. They don't just want to go out and drink. So we have a quiz night here on Tuesdays. Quizzes are huge this year. Quizzes are everywhere. Everyone wants a quiz.
Are you doing the standard quiz, or because I've seen a lot of bars now using the apps for the quizzes? Like there's this
we work with a group called Smart Quiz. So it's kind of. It is standard, but they do this great stuff on our we've got a massive projection screen upstairs. So they do stuff on that. They do some interactive stuff as well. Right. But they still have that personal touch of somebody actually hosting it rather than it just being sort of on your phone. And then Wednesdays we tend to have down here, we have this great thing called drag aerobics, which is...
is that drag queens doing aerobics?
It's drag queens doing an aerobics class, yes.
100%.
It's amazing, it's hilarious. It is mad because they're so beautiful and they've got these tiny little like leotards on, and I'm like, what? I don't even understand. Like,
it's cool. It's cool.
It's the tuck.
It's the tuck.
I love that you know so much.
Yeah. My missus, she's obsessed with a few drag queen shows.
Yes.
So I have to watch them by. I say have to, but if they're on, they're on. So I'm fully aware of the terminology.
You're one of those group. My boyfriend's exactly the same. He pretends to not be interested, and then he's like, "Oh, I can't believe they filmed Ginger Beers."
That's the exact conversation.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. No, it's fantastic. And then we have a few other things on a Wednesday night as well. Sometimes we do networking events. Neon Naked Life Drawing we've just launched here. So she's fantastic. She does a few things at other places, but essentially, it's naked models down here, but she brings all these UV lights and she paints them up, and so
It's just a case of making use of the venue when
it's absolutely, and I think finding what the right brands are to work in this space as well. You know, we're in Shoreditch, we're a bit different, we're funky, and we need people who reflect that. So the drag aerobics, the neon drawing, we've got another art, paint and sip kind of class.
Does it prove then to be you're kind of one step ahead of the competition then? Because obviously we're in such a densely populated area for bars and venues and nightclubs and restaurants that if it is that kind of destination at the weekend, are people just kind of, oh, what's this? What's going on here tonight? Or is it, right, Wednesday night we're going here, Thursday night we're going to Trapeze?
Yeah.
Do you know what the kind of difference is from walk-ins to actual booked?
The pre-booked in this venue is a very big percentage.
Okay.
Very big percentage of what we do. So Saturday night, I would say, we have a club night, so that's obviously walk-in. But I'd probably say about 70 to 80% of the business on a Saturday night will come from our pre-booked, so from our big group bookings. But yeah, it's a really interesting one in terms of I think you have to be one step ahead, and I think you always have to be thinking about what the next thing is, and you have to be willing to take risks. That's really important because it's really easy, I think, to kind of go, well, yeah, we had this and it, didn't take that much money on the first night, so we're just not going to do that again. And I can guarantee you, if you start doing that, the bar down the road, before you know it, will be doing the same thing and then suddenly taking money. So yeah, you do. You have to really keep thinking.
What's the place around the corner? I walked past it yesterday. It's got a ball pit outside. You don't have to tell them if you don't want to, but it's on Curtin Road.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
It's got a ball pit.
They've got a ball pit outside in the inside of the venue. All these massive pink balls.
Oh, I think I've heard of that. Yes.
Because that really intrigued me from an activity or something different from a venue.
Do you know the only thing I remember seeing a thing about that, and it's absolutely no offence to the people who are doing it, because I'm sure it's great, but I just thought, sticky
germs.
Things and
exactly what I
germs, and what if someone's sick? And I was just like, I just can't.
I thought exactly
it's
the
literally
same.
like, oh God, can you imagine a Christmas party and that? You just be like, I need to go home and shower, help me.
Just bathing in antibacterial. Just like,
how do you clean them all? I don't understand. Let's just hose it down at the end of the night or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of those. We've got Bounce across the road.
Yep.
So we are dealing with a lot of spaces around here which are thinking very differently about what their offer is. So you're exactly right. We have to really think in this venue especially what we're going to actually do that's different to our competition. It's like Nordic though. We've recently installed these arcade games, so these tabletop arcade games. So we've got Pac-Man and Space Invaders and all this sort of stuff. And it's made such a difference because people, I think, want something to do when they go out, and it's about interacting with people in a different way. And then
you get good content for social as well.
Great content for social. Interestingly, you start to see more strangers interacting with stuff like that with each other because they have to do 2-player or they have to play with someone else or they have to maybe, and I'm beginning to see sort of socially when people are out, there's a sort of thing where if you've got something to do that involves you having to kind of interact, it's creating this new wave of people actually talking to each other again, which is lovely, because I think we kind of lost that a bit in hospitality. I think it was very much, you went out with your friends, you had a drink with your friends.
You didn't talk to anyone else.
Yeah, and so I think it's coming back because of the activities now.
Yeah.
There's a reason to talk to people that's not threatening or isn't perceived as something it's not, or, you know, so we're kind of recreating and re-engaging people with each other as well, which is great.
Yeah. Going back to where we started then about talking about pre-booked customers, and it's probably past 5 years been such a big thing in the industry. All venues are really trying to push it. From your perspective, why is it so important?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, it's very important because it obviously allows the venues to be able to kind of gauge where they're at for the week or the weekend or anything else. But it's also important because it gives you a chance to get people acquainted with your venue. I mean, it's just such a huge part of the revenue for any business now, like you said. And it just means that from the operations side of things, they can then guarantee a certain amount of revenue will come through the doors on that night. So it's really vital that we do that.
Do you think customers are more willing to pre-book now than they was maybe say 5 years ago?
Absolutely. And I
think, are they more organised now, would you say? And
I think they're more organised, yeah. And I think that they're more willing to do things like put deposits down.
Yeah.
When I started many moons ago, trying to convince people to put 20 quid down for a table, even though they get it back in a bar, was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'll just turn up then, go away. Like, whereas now people are very willing to do it. But it's also such a big thing, you know, not just for us as nighttime traders, but restaurants are starting to do it as well, because they just lose millions of pounds, millions and millions through people not turning up. So I think people are very used to doing it now.
Yeah.
I think we've moved away from, though, people are happy to do a deposit. I don't feel like people are doing these sort of big drinks packages anymore. There used to be a really big trend of like, oh, and it's, you know, spirits and champagne and this and this and this.
I think that's, from our experience, I think that's venue or area specific.
Yes.
I think sometimes when we all live in London or we all work in London, we seemingly have this London bubble.
Yeah.
Where we're our own country.
That's true, yeah.
And as soon as you go out, it's past like Bedfordshire,
then it's the thing.
Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, there are other parts of the country. They do things a little bit more different.
Yeah.
So I think with London, everyone's wanting something different, and then usually what happens is it then filters out to the rest of the UK.
Yes.
And then you'll have like places in, you know, your, mine's gone blank, I don't know, but your Barnsleys and...
But Brighton
kind of
as well does
and
have a bit
like
of that as well, you know, the sort of
Brighton,
pre-book package. In some of the bars, you're absolutely right. I used to, I did briefly work for a bar that's no longer there actually, but they sort of did quite a lot of those big, I think you're right. And I think it also depends on the event, but I think people are going out now, although they're doing their sort of big Saturday night for a birthday and stuff, I don't think people are interested in getting the most alcohol for the least money anymore. I think that's not...
They've become a bit wiser to it.
Yeah, people aren't actually that bothered. You can put a happy hour on until whatever time you want, but if your offering isn't right, people vote with their feet. Right. And it's actually about the delivery, what you've got, how you can engage them so much more than, oh, well, it's just really cheap here.
Yeah.
So I don't think people are that bothered anymore about that.
So if you aren't doing so much, or you're seeing not so many people book drinks packages now, is it mainly just tables, booths?
Yeah, tables, booths, that kind of thing.
Do you incentivize people to pre-book? Is it cheaper, or is it more of a case of they just want to reserve their space and know they're getting in?
Yeah, it's basically, if you want to reserve a space, we need this from you in order to confirm that. We do always push people to pre-order food and drinks as well, because obviously that's great for us. That's additional revenue in the till, so it's fantastic. But yeah, I think on Saturdays we see more of that. But we basically say, you know, you can't reserve a table until you put the money down, and that's it. But you know, you get that back on the night as something, so that's how we work. Yeah, exactly. And it's different for different venues. It's the other thing as well, is that being aware that pre-booked is not a one size fits all. So the amount we might ask for at Trapeze is different for the amount we might ask for at Nordic, because it's a different demographic.
Yeah.
And, so you have to be very aware of the psychology. I think that there's a huge amount of psychology in sales, but it's about the perception of what you're offering. So if, and the value for that, you can't, I don't think you can ask two people to pay 50 quid deposit for a table, because although they'll spend 50 quid on the night, in their head, that's a lot of money. Even though they'll whack it on the card when they're there, they don't want to be in a position where they're thinking, I'm putting that.
It's that commitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're actually
It's that
committed to
perception.
something. And
absolutely.
people's plans change. They may start off in one venue and decide to go somewhere else. And
exactly.
from your side, you want that commitment because you want to know that they're going to come in.
But it goes back to that sort of pre-book package thing. A lot of people, you could say, look, we're doing this, this, and this, and it's this amount. It's cheaper than the bar. Oh, great, yeah. And then they'll go, oh, no, I'm all right, actually. They'll buy exactly the same thing on the bar on the night. But
it's that in that moment thing that they don't really see it. With regards to getting people inside, obviously social media has played a massive part for every venue in the last couple of years, more every year, every month, it gets more and more. What's your kind of strategies to get more people involved in that aspect of the business? Do you work closely from a sales perspective with the social team, or are you indeed the social team?
No, we have a wonderful social media guy called Charlie who looks after. Good old Charlie, who works across all the sites. We do work closely with him because obviously it's really important that he knows what's going on. He knows the offers we're doing. He knows about any events and stuff like that. We speak to people quite a lot on Facebook, and we also. If we feel like we need to push something or shout about something, then we'll deal with that. But I think that from our perspective, it is really important to have from my perspective personally, I think it's really important to actually give the social to somebody else and have the sales teams involved rather than the sales teams look after the social. Partly because sales managers are not social media managers. It's a different job.
Yes.
But also, from my perspective, I think that a sales manager should be somebody that's going out and engaging with people on a personal level. And it's just, it's kind of, I don't want to say hide behind, but it's quite an easy way to say, oh, I was doing all the social media stuff, and that's it. That shouldn't be the priority for me in your sales teams. It should be you're engaging on a personal level with people, I think that especially now, with all the social media, there's a lot of white noise now. Everyone's advertising everything all over Facebook, all over Instagram, everything else. So for me, I feel actually like sales teams for venues are more important than ever because we're providing a personal touch and we're connecting to people on a personal level. So we're calling them and we're, if people will make booking inquiries for 5 different venues. The only reason they're going to choose yours is because they like you. That's it. It's literally as easy as that. But I think that especially now, it's the personal touch is something that people really connect with and engage with in a huge way.
I guess it's quite rare, probably something that not all venues are doing, and
no.
a lot of businesses take for granted. Is there any technique that you're using at the moment that's getting a lot of success, whether it is that personal touch, whether it is some form of sales?
I know it sounds really simplistic. We always call people. So as soon as someone makes an inquiry, we'll call them. And I know that sounds really simplistic to say, oh, that's the thing. But you'd be surprised how many venues don't do that. And I think that's a really big element of why people book, because they speak to you and they speak to a human.
I suppose it's because you're there essentially closing them first, because it's speed to lead and you're getting,
speed to lead, get them on the phone, get them booking then and there, get them doing it, because
they're buying at that point, they've got the buying
mentality
at that point.
Absolutely, at that point, and people buy from people. So if you're there and you're chatting to them, I also think it's understanding the industry. So when I'm speaking, and I say this to everyone as well, when I'm speaking to people, I'm like, yeah, you're right, how's your day been? Yeah, cool, it's Friday, great. And I say to people, it's allowed, you're allowed to have a personality in hospitality. It's dare we say it, actually encouraged. And it's sort of one of those things where you're not selling dental insurance. So sound like you're, you need to be the bar. You are the bar. You're the party. So yeah, I believe it's just.
We've been invaded.
Hi.
Joining
the party.
He's been doing the rounds. He's been
Literally.
all show.
I don't know if it's just a ghost walking around holding a balloon. Like,
oh no, it's a red balloon. Oh, it's just, oh no.
We are actually doing a Halloween thing, like around sort of evil clowns and stuff as well. Oh my goodness.
That is pretty
it's fine,
nice.
guys. Don't worry.
So yeah, just going. So from your experience from starting with going back to Novus and your time there, and then as a consultant in transition here, what changes have you seen in the industry? Where do you see the industry as a whole? And moving forward, where do you see it going?
I know that we don't want to go doom and gloom. The industry has obviously gotten harder. It's gotten harder for everybody.
Sure.
But the changes I've seen, I suppose they're less to do with the industry and more to do with the people we serve, essentially. In terms of people have wised up big time to when they are being sold to. Right. So I've seen a real shift away from the hard sell. When we were at Novus, it was like, get on the phone, call them, do this, book them in now. Like literally, like, who do you want to book tonight? Like yeah, let's get and it did used to work to an extent.
It's like that old car salesman technique, which I think in a lot of industries is just dated and.
Yes, and because it literally used to be, do you want to book? Do you want to book? Do you want to book? Are you going to book? Do you want to book? Are you going to book? Let's do it. Go, 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 go.
As opposed to, what's the event for?
Yeah, what are you doing? Talk to me. What's going on? Yeah. Do you fancy? And I'm not saying it's about gentle selling, but yeah, people have clocked it. So you've got to be personable, and you've got to kind of not be really aggressive with what you're selling and how you're selling it. So that's very different. I think that as a whole, I think pre-book's probably only going to get bigger, actually. And I know that I'm biased. But I think that, because we're seeing people be more careful about spending their money, they are being more organised. It's not like a lot of people aren't just finishing work on, especially for venues like ours. It's different for pubs, very different. I'm still seeing pubs, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon rammed.
Especially when it's a daylight.
Especially when it's daylight stay. Yeah, I mean, Fitzrovia is crazy. It's like 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and I'm like, where's your office? But especially for venues like ours, where we're offering something a little bit different, we're giving them an experience, essentially. I think pre-book's only going to get bigger and bigger. And I think that we're going to have to probably look at just how we package that going forward, and being very aware of just understanding people's needs and understanding what they're looking for. And I think just listening, I think that's what we used to be really bad at not on the operations side, on the sales side. I think hospitality sales, we used to be awful at listening. We wouldn't listen to anyone and then just be like, yeah, book in, I don't care, whatever. And now it's all about listening to people, listening to them and understanding exactly what they need from you. So I think looking ahead 5 years from now, in terms of the industry, in terms of my side of the industry, I think probably the experiential side, so things like the sort of the drawing and all this sort of stuff, is only going to get bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. I think we're probably going to have to start looking into doing offerings which also include non-alcoholic offerings as well. Yeah. That's becoming really big. So, when we're doing Christmas parties, I think we'll be looking at, we'll need to be looking at an option of like a non-alcoholic sort of.
Is that mainly the younger crowd that are?
Yes.
That are more health conscious.
Yeah, it's odd. Abby, so my sales manager at Nordic, she was saying that her cousin, who's 17, was going, why would she even go to a pub and get drunk? That is so weird. And Abby was like, well, yeah.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah,
I know that's one
17-year-olds.
View, but fair play, I don't particularly drink at all.
Okay.
Really, maybe once every 6 months, and that's literally 2 drinks. But that's through experience.
Yeah.
And I don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
I think every youngster should experience, just experience it. And don't get me wrong, the first time you get blackout drunk and you pass out and you feel sick. Obviously, you never want to do that again.
Yeah.
But I think it's about kind of having just that kind of youth experience, and that's really interesting.
I mean, I know that we are now looking at stocking some non-alcoholic alternatives because essentially, yes, you make your money from an older demographic, but you always have to be thinking about the next generation. And I think that we will really have to start looking at that because we really do. I've noticed younger ones. But, that's another thing as well. They're kind of coming out and the aim of the game now isn't to get blind drunk anymore. It's to come out and have an experience and have a night out, but actually not just, down like 15 Jaeger bombs. Like, but I think that's, I think that we're going to need to look at more sharing opportunities in the hospitality industry. So what I mean by that is potentially looking at how we can encourage people to interact with each other, whether that's maybe looking at how we do our seating or how we kind of bring people together in a space and how we book them in order to encourage them to speak. Because I think that in such a digital world, people are lacking connection with each other. And I think that that's what people are going to be looking for. And I think that's something that we need to provide.
Do you think this is all a bit of a technology phase then, and people are soon going to realise that we actually do need to get back to human interaction?
I think everything works on a roll, doesn't it? We always see things, but
human interaction has been around for millions of
years.
Sure. But it seems like in the last 2 or 3, people would much rather have emails back and cross than pick up the phone. People would much rather text than talk. And I get that it's for time, it's convenience, but I think in our industry, you have to speak to a client as a venue, and you have to speak to the customer, the people that are coming in. Do you see that now then in the next couple of years, people then wising up to that and going, all right, we've had a decent run with digital, we've exhausted it a little bit, now let's go back to actually speaking to our people?
I think we're already seeing that. I think that that's going to be a huge thing. I just think people are getting a bit tech tired now.
That's a good way of putting it.
And I think that people are starting to really crave people interaction again. So I do think we're going to start seeing a real trend towards just any kind of activities. I mean, just look at festivals. We all say how big festivals are. Why are they so big? They're big because they bring people together in an environment where they feel like they can interact. It's that's all it is. And you might not have very good reception on your phone, so you actually have to talk to people. And I think you never know. You might even see a return of those places where don't really have your phones in pubs and stuff like that. Potentially we could be looking at something like that. But I think it's always about just finding out how we can bring people together in different ways. And Prebooked is going to be a really big part of that. Yeah.
Cool. I think as we wrap up, just one last question. Why are you still in the industry?
I think, first of all, one of my old general managers put this the best possible way. He said, so you haven't been... Because I've done everything in this industry. I've been a bartender, I've been a cocktail bartender, I've been a waitress, I've been a restaurant chef. You name it, I've done it. And he said to me, you've been out for a while, but you're back now. I was like, yeah. And he said, it's in your blood, isn't it? Once it's in your blood. That's it. And it is true. There is something about the people in hospitality. There's something about it that you just you can't leave. you always end up back in it. I love the people in hospitality, and as I've gotten older, and this might sound a bit mushy, I have come to really love it because I don't think that what we're doing is providing drinks over a bar. I think that what we're doing is creating moments in time in people's lives. And I really do think that. I think, it's not just a birthday party, it's their birthday party, it's their engagement, it's their, and actually that's something amazing to be a part of. And that's how we should be looking at it. And that's why I'm passionate about it, because I think that that's, you're being a tiny moment in everybody's life that comes into your venue, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is a absolutely awesome thing to say. And that is a lovely way.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us,
Thank you
Rosie.
so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.